The Republic of Djibouti gained its independence on June 27th of 1977. It is the successor to French Somaliland, which was created in the first half of the 19th century as a result of French interest in the Horn of Africa. However, the history of Djibouti, recorded in poetry and songs of its nomadic peoples, goes back thousands of years to the time when Djiboutians traded hides and skins for the perfumes and spices of ancient India, Egypt, and China. Through close contact with the Arabian Peninsula for more than 1,000 years, the Somali and Afar tribes in this region became the first on the African continent to adopt Islam, and those two same groups are who dominate Djibouti today. It was the French that started the main Djiboutian history, sparked the beginning of French interest in the African shores of the Red Sea in 1839 to 1842. Further exploration by more French explorers led to a treaty of friendship and assistance between France and the sultans of the tribes and nations that lived on the land that is now Djibouti, from whom the French purchased the anchorage of Obak in 1862. Growing French interest in the area took place against a backdrop of British activity in Egypt, and the opening of the Suez Canal in 1869. In 1884-85, France expanded its protectorate to include the shores of the Gulf of Tadhora and the Somaliland. Boundaries of the protectorate marked out by 1897 by France and the Emperor of Ethiopia were affirmed further by agreements with Ethiopia in 1945 and 1954. The administrative capital was moved from Obak to Djibouti City in 1892. Djibouti was named French Somaliland, and Djibouti, which had a good natural harbor and ready access to the Ethiopian highlands, attracted trade caravans crossing East Africa as well as Somali settlers from the south. The Franco-Ethiopian Railway, linking Djibouti to the heart of Ethiopia, was begun in 1897 and reached Addis Ababa in June of 1917, further facilitating the increase of trade. During the Italian invasion and occupation of Ethiopia in the 1930s and during World War II, constant border skirmishes occurred between French and Italian forces. The area was ruled by the Vichy French government from the fall of France until December of 1942, and fell under British blockade during that period. Free French and the Allied forces recaptured Djibouti at the end of 1942. A local battalion from Djibouti participated in the liberation of France in 1944. On July 22nd of 1957, the colony was reorganized to give the people considerable self-government. On the same day, a decree applying the Overseas Reform Act of June 23rd of 1956 established a territorial assembly that elected 8 of its members to an executive council. Members of the executive council were responsible for one or more of the territorial services and carried the title of minister. The council advised the French-appointed governor-general. In a September 1958 constitutional referendum, French Somaliland opted to join the French community as an overseas territory. This act entitled the region to representation by 1 deputy and 1 senator in the French Parliament, and 1 councillor in the French Union Assembly. The first elections to a territorial assembly were held on November 23rd of 1958, under a system of proportional representation. In the next assembly elections of 1963, a new electoral law was enacted. Representation was abolished in exchange for a system of straight plurality votes, based on lists submitted by political parties in 7 designated districts. On September 21st of 1966, Louis Seguet, appointed Governor-General of the territory after the demonstrations, announced the French government's decision to hold a referendum to determine whether the people would remain within the French Republic or become independent. In March of 1967, 60% chose to continue the territory's association with France. In July of that year, a directive from Paris formally changed the name of the region to the French territory of Afars and Issas. The directive also reorganized the governmental structure of the territory, making the senior French representative, formerly the Governor-General, a High Commissioner. In addition, the Executive Council was redesignated as a council of government with 9 members. In 1975, the French government began to accommodate increasingly insistent demands for independence. In June of 1976, the territory's citizenship law, which favored the Afar minority, was revised to reflect more closely the weight of the Issa Somali. The electorate voted for independence in a May 1977 referendum, and the Republic of Djibouti was established on June 27, 1977. Hassan Guled Abtidon became the country's first president. In early November of 1991, civil war erupted in Djibouti between the government and the predominantly Afar rebel group. The Front for the Restoration of Unity and Democracy, the FRUD, signed a peace accord with the government in December of 1994, ending the conflict. 2 FRUD members were made cabinet members, and in the presidential elections of 1999, the FRUD campaigned in support of the RPP. In February of 2000, another branch of FRUD signed a peace accord with the government. I might have skipped a few things, so that's why this probably is a bit weird, that segment. But I can't find what I skipped. On May 12th of 2001, the current president presided over the signing of what is termed the Final Peace Accord, officially ending the decade-long civil war between the government and the armed faction of the FRUD. The peace accord successfully completed the peace process begun on February 7th of 2000 in Paris. Ahmed Dini Ahmed represented the FRUD. Djibouti had its own armed forces, including a small army, which has grown significantly since the start of the Civil War. In recent years, the armed forces have downsized, and with the peace accord with the FRUD in 2001, the armed forces are expected to continue downsizing. The country's security also is supplemented by a special security agreement with the government of France. France maintains one of its largest military bases outside of France in Djibouti. There are some 2,600 French troops, which includes a unit of the French Foreign Legion stationed in Djibouti. The right to own property is respected in Djibouti. The government has reorganized the labor unions. While there have been open elections of union leaders, the government of Djibouti is working with the International Labor Organization to hold new elections. That is pretty much it for the actual history of Djibouti, because I'm not going over a lot of the political things or the prehistory things that are about the state of Djibouti. So, on to the 5 fun facts. The first fact is that at 155 meters below sea level, Lac Assal is the lowest point in Africa. It's a lake in Djibouti, and the third lowest point in the entire world, after the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee. The second fact is that exact same lake is the second saltiest body of water in the entire world, after Don Juan Pond in Antarctica. So not including Antarctica, it's the saltiest body of water in the entire world. The third fact is that several nations have military bases in Djibouti, including France, the US, and China, among several others, and Djibouti is known for this. Djibouti's status as a model of stability in a volatile region, and its proximity to the world's busiest shipping route, made it particularly attractive to global military powers. The fourth fact is that with the population just under 1 million, Djibouti is the least populated country on mainland Africa. And the last fact is that Djibouti is one of 2 countries in the whole world that do not have any rivers, and are not either a microstate such as the Vatican City, an island nation such as the Maldives, or in the Arabian Desert like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen, with the only other being Libya. Anyways, that is it for the Djibouti history of video. I'll see y'all next time for what I think is Dominica.